Welcome to a Prince August production. Today we deal with venting molds. Molds require venting to maximize casting success. Ideally, put your new mold in a hot press overnight before you start casting to really dry it properly. Kitchens are bad places to store molds due to condensation. You can use an oven to warm up the mold prior to casting or venting. Set it at a low temperature. Leave the mold in the oven for an hour or two to warm properly. Cold, damp rubber molds will never cast perfectly. Warm molds will allow you to cut vents with a new blade easily. Study the mold. Any points that are above the bottom of the ingot are primary targets for vents, especially the narrow areas like the sword scabbard. Our toolmaker shows here several points of concern that could be vented, including the highest point of the base, the scabbards and the bayonets. All vents go towards the top, or at least upwards. Because this mold's ingot blocks direct access to the top of the mold, we drill a 1.5 mm hole just under the ingot branch. Then cut a narrow channel down to the end of the sword scabbard from the drilled hole. From the outside of the mold, cut another channel from the hole to the top of the mold. Cut at an angle away from the ingot hole as much as possible, or it may get blocked when casting. The other vents are straightforward. Just cut these narrow channels towards the top of the mold. Cutting a channel to the bottom of the mold will result in metal leaking. Our toolmaker is holding the mold upside down for ease of cutting. The vents are not actually going downwards. The purpose of vents is to allow air pockets to be pushed out of difficult spots. The metal will not flow more than a centimeter in vents before it cools and sets solid. There are still some possible venting points, but overdoing it can weaken the pressure pushing the metal into the mold, defeating the benefits of the vents. Test it first before venting excessively. Remember to warm the mold again before casting. Focus putting the talcum powder on edges of the mold surface rather than concentrate it on the figures. Excess talcum can block vents. The grains are to allow the air to escape between the rubber. Clap the molds together to shake out excess powder. Apply the rough side of the support boards against the molds. The grain will allow the vent hole to let air escape, as well as improve grip against the rubber surface. After pouring metal into the mold, tap it for 5 seconds to help shake the metal into all details. It helps get air out too. Finally, check the casting to see if all the details and vents worked as you intended. If so, then you can cast with it hundreds of times without further alteration. Time well spent. Prince August wishes to thank you for watching and hopes you find this information useful in maximizing your enjoyment of our molds. More video guides can be found on our channel or from our website www.princeaugust.ie.